Kim Tae-ho pressed his face against the thick glass window of the observation deck. The planet below looked nothing like the death trap the Federation had warned them about. Swirling white clouds danced over blue oceans, and he could see green, patches that looked like forests. It was beautiful. "This doesn't look right," he said to Park So-min, who was busy checking her instruments at the nearby console. So-min looked up from her screen, pushing a strand of black hair behind her ear. "The readings are all wrong too. According to the Federation database, this planet should be covered in poison gas, but my sensors show clean air with lots of oxygen." The ship New Sol hung in space above Kepler 442c, a world the Galactic Federation had marked with bright red warnings. "Class X Deathworld," the files said, "deadly to all known life forms. Do not approach under any circumstances." But Captain Choi Min-ho had received special permission for this mission. Humanity was still new to the galactic community, and Earth's government wanted to prove they could follow Federation rules. This was supposed to be a simple flyby mission to confirm the planet was indeed dangerous, and then leave. Tae-ho had spent 10 years in Earth's military before joining the space exploration program. He knew how to spot danger, and this planet didn't feel dangerous at all. In fact, it reminded him of Earth before humans had polluted it. "Captain," So-min called over the comm system, "you need to see this." Captain Min-ho arrived on the observation deck within minutes, followed by Communications Officer Lee Ha-na. Min-ho was a serious man who rarely smiled, but his eyes always showed curiosity about the unknown. "What have you found?" Min-ho asked. So-min pointed at her screen. "The atmospheric readings show this planet has perfect air for humans to breathe. The gravity is just a little stronger than Earth's, which is actually healthy for our bones and muscles. And look at this." She switched to a different display showing thermal imaging. Bright spots appeared across the planet's surface, in organized patterns. "Those look like cities," Hana whispered. Tae-ho felt his heart beat faster. Cities mean people, but the Federation says this world is empty. Min-ho stared at the screen for a long moment. "Send a message to Federation Command. Tell them we're seeing unusual readings and request permission to investigate." Hana nodded and went to her communication station. Within an hour, the reply came back. The message was short and cold. "Return to Federation space immediately. Do not investigate. Do not land. This is a direct order." "That's strange," So-min said. "If the planet is just a dead rock covered in poison, why won't they let us take a closer look?" Tae-ho had been thinking the same thing. In his military days, when commanders got angry about simple questions, it usually meant they were hiding something important. "Maybe we should listen to them," Min-ho said, but his voice didn't sound convinced. "We're here to prove humans can follow Federation rules. Or maybe we should find out why they don't want us looking at this planet," Tae-ho replied. The debate continued for hours. Hana discovered more strange things in the Federation database. Every few months, small ships would visit this system, but their destinations were always listed as classified research missions. If the planet was so deadly, why were people coming here? Finally, Min-ho made a decision that would change everything. "We launch stealth probes," he said quietly. "Small ones that can't be detected easily. If the planet is really dangerous, the probes will confirm it, and we'll leave. If it's not, then the Federation has been lying to everyone," So-min finished. That night, while the New Sol drifted in the planet's shadow, they launched 3 small probes. Each one was no bigger than a basketball, designed to avoid detection by Federation sensors. The probes would take pictures, test the air and water, and send the information back to the ship. The results came back 6 hours later, and they were shocking. The planet wasn't just safe for life, it was perfect for life. The air was cleaner than Earth's air. The water was pure. The soil was rich and dark, perfect for growing food. And the organized heat patterns they had seen weren't cities built by unknown aliens. They were ruins of ancient cities, built by people who had lived there long ago. "Look at this," So-min said, showing everyone a detailed image from one of the probes. The picture showed a beautiful valley with crystal-clear rivers running through it. Ancient stone buildings rose from the valley floor covered in vines and flowers. This isn't a death world. This is paradise. Tejo studied another image showing strange symbols carved into stone walls. The symbols looked familiar somehow, like writing he had seen before but couldn't quite remember where. There's something else, Hana said nervously. I've been monitoring Federation communication channels. 3 Federation ships are heading this way and they're not sending friendly messages. Minho's face grew serious. How long until they arrive? 2 days, maybe less. The captain looked at his small crew. Tejo could see him struggling with the decision. They had found something incredible, something that could change how humans understood their place in the galaxy. But they were also about to break Federation law by staying here. We have 2 days to find out what the Federation doesn't want us to see, Minho finally said. Tejo, So-Min, I want you to take the shuttle down to the surface. Find out what's really down there. Sir, if the Federation finds out, Hana started to say, then we better make sure we find something worth the risk, Minho interrupted. As Tejo and So-Min prepared for their surface mission, neither of them knew they were about to uncover a secret that would shake the entire galaxy. The Federation had been lying about this world, but that was just the beginning. The truth was much bigger and more dangerous than they could imagine. The planet below held answers to questions humanity didn't even know to ask. And somewhere in the ancient ruins, evidence waited that would expose the greatest lie ever told to the galactic community. But first, they had to survive long enough to find it. The shuttle landed softly on a grassy field near the ancient ruins. Tejo stepped out first, breathing the alien air through his helmet's filters. The air tasted sweet and clean, better than the recycled air on their ship. The readings are perfect, So-Min said, checking her portable scanner. We could breathe this air without our suits. But they kept their protective gear on anyway. Even if the air was safe, they didn't know what other dangers might be waiting. The ruins were even more beautiful up close. Tall stone towers reached toward the sky, covered in green vines with purple flowers. Carved symbols decorated every surface, telling stories in a language neither human could read. These buildings are old, So-Min said, running her hand over smooth stone. Maybe thousands of years old. But look how well preserved they are. Tejo was examining something else that made his skin crawl with excitement and fear. So-Min, come look at this. He had found a stone tablet covered in symbols, but at the bottom were markings that looked different from the rest. These newer symbols looked almost like Federation standard writing. Can you read any of it? So-Min asked. Some of it, Tejo said slowly. It says something about preservation protocol, and here this word looks like forbidden. They spent hours exploring the ruins, taking pictures and collecting samples. Every discovery made the mystery deeper. The planet wasn't just habitable, it was perfect. Rivers ran with clean water. Fruit trees grew wild everywhere. The soil was so rich that plants grew twice as large as they should. This isn't natural, So-Min said as they examined a grove of fruit trees. Someone made this planet better. The soil composition, the atmospheric balance, even the way the water flows. It's all been improved somehow. When they returned to the new Sol, Captain Minho was waiting with bad news. The Federation ships are coming faster than we thought, he said. They'll be here in 18 hours. Did you find anything useful? Asked Li Hana. Tejo and So-Min shared a look. What they had found was more than useful. It was dangerous. The E-Dice planet has been terraformed, So-Min explained. Someone spent a lot of time and energy making it into a perfect world, but the Federation database says it's a poisonous wasteland. Why would they lie about that? Minho asked. Maybe because they don't want anyone else to have it, Tejo suggested. Hana had been quiet during their report, but now she spoke up. I intercepted some Federation communications while you were on the surface. They mentioned something called Preservation Protocol Omega and talked about securing the Garden Worlds. Garden Worlds, So-Min repeated. You mean there are more planets like this one? That's what it sounded like, Hana said. They also mentioned that no unauthorized species should be allowed to discover the true nature of the classified worlds. The pieces were starting to fit together, but the picture they made was frightening. The Federation wasn't just hiding one planet. They were hiding many planets. And they were willing to use force to keep their secret. We need more information. Minho decided. Hana, can you access the Federation database without being detected? I can try, she said. But if they catch me, they'll know we're investigating. While Hana worked on hacking the database, Taeho and Somin analyzed their samples from the planet. Everything they tested confirmed their suspicions. The planet had been artificially improved, turned from a normal world into something close to paradise. Look at this, Somin said, showing Taeho her analysis of the soil samples. This contains minerals that don't occur naturally together. Someone mixed different soil types from multiple worlds to create the perfect growing medium. And the water samples show the same thing, Taeho added. The mineral balance is too perfect to be natural. 3 hours later, Hana called them over to her station. Her face was pale with shock. I found something, she said quietly. But you're not going to like it. She had managed to access a restricted section of the Federation database. The files she found were labeled Deathworld Classification, Protocol and Species Containment Guidelines. According to these files, Hana explained, there are over 300 planets classified as Deathworlds. But look at this internal memo. She showed them a message between high-ranking Federation officials. The memo talked about keeping inferior species away from premium habitable worlds and maintaining controlled population distribution. They're not hiding dangerous planets, Somin whispered. They're hiding the best planets. The memo went on to explain that certain founding species of the Federation had exclusive rights to the most habitable worlds in the galaxy. Newer species like humanity were supposed to be satisfied with less desirable planets. It gets worse, Hana continued. She pulled up another file that made Taeho's blood run cold. Earth was supposed to be classified as a death world too. The file showed Earth's original survey report, which recommended classifying it as unsuitable for habitation due to aggressive native species and unstable climate conditions. Only a bureaucratic error had prevented Earth from being quarantined. If that classification had gone through, Minho said slowly, humanity would have been trapped on Earth forever. We never would have been allowed to join the galactic community. And we never would have known that dozens of perfect worlds were being kept from us, Taeho added angrily. They spent the next few hours downloading as much information as they could access. The deeper they dug, the more horrifying the truth became. The Federation hadn't just hidden a few worlds. They had systematically lied about hundreds of planets to control which species could expand and which couldn't. The most disturbing discovery came when Somin cross-referenced the Death World classifications with actual exploration reports. Many of the deadly worlds showed signs of recent terraforming activity. Someone has been improving these worlds, she said, making them even better than they were naturally. Then they classify them as death worlds so no one will want to go there. But who's doing the terraforming? Minho asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Hana rushed to her communication console and her face went white. The Federation ships just dropped out of hyperspace, she announced. They're demanding we prepare to be boarded for security inspection. Through the observation windows, they could see 3 massive Federation warships approaching. These weren't exploration vessels like the New Soul. These were military ships built for fighting. They're not here to give us a warning, Taeho realized. They're here to make sure we never tell anyone what we found. Minho stood up straight, his military training taking over. Prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace, we're leaving now. Sir, Hana said nervously, they're jamming our communications. We can't send a message to Earth or anyone else. As the New Soul powered up its engines, the Federation ships began charging their weapons. The humans had discovered something that powerful people wanted to keep secret, and those people were willing to kill to protect that secret. But Taeho and So-Min had learned something important about humans during their time in space. When someone tried to tell them they couldn't know the truth, it only made them more determined to find it. The race was on. Could they escape and warn the galaxy about the Federation's lies, or would they disappear like so many others who had asked the wrong questions? Yang Junseo led them through the twisted corridors of Nexus Prime's lower levels, where the air was thick with steam from old machinery, and the lights flickered constantly. This was where people came when they didn't want to be found. "There's someone you need to meet," Junseo said as they walked. "But she doesn't trust easily, especially not humans." They stopped at a door marked only with alien symbols. Junseo knocked in a specific pattern, and the door opened to reveal a small furry creature with 6 arms and bright yellow eyes. "This is Kang Mi-young," Junseo said. "She's from the Villani species, and she knows more about Federation secrets than anyone else on this station." Mi-young looked at the humans with suspicion. "Junseo, you said you would bring proof, not more wild stories." So Min stepped forward and handed Mi-young a datapad. "We have proof." For the next hour, Mi-young studied their evidence in silence. Her yellow eyes grew wider with each file she examined. Finally, she looked up at them with what might have been respect. "I have been waiting 20 years for someone to find this," she said in accented but clear human language. "My people were told our homeworld was destroyed by a natural disaster. But I always suspected the truth was different." Mi-young led them to a hidden room behind her shop where the walls were covered with star maps and printed documents. "I collect information about worlds that don't make sense," she explained. "Planets that appear on old maps but are missing from new ones. Worlds that trading ships visit but no one talks about." She pointed to a large map showing hundreds of star systems. Red dots marked each system, and there were far more red dots than any of them had expected. "Each red dot is a world that has suspicious classification problems," Mi-young continued. "Some are marked as Deathworlds when they should be habitable. Others simply disappeared from public records after being discovered." Taeho counted the red dots and felt his heart sink. There were over 500 of them. 500 worlds, he said quietly. "They've hidden 500 worlds from the galactic community." "At least," Mi-young corrected. "These are only the ones I could find evidence for. The real number might be twice as large." So-min was studying the map more closely. "Look at the pattern," she said. "The hidden worlds form a rough circle around the galaxy's core region. And guess what's in the core region?" "The homeworlds of the Federation's founding species," Hana answered. "Exactly. They've surrounded themselves with hidden paradise worlds while forcing everyone else to fight over the scraps." Mi-young nodded grimly. "My people live on a cold, rocky world where we have to work hard just to grow enough food. But according to my research, there are at least 12 perfect worlds within 50 light years of our homeworld. All of them are classified as death worlds. The aliens had been sharing information through underground networks for decades, but they had never been able to prove their suspicions. Individual species might suspect they were being cheated, but no one had evidence of the full scope of the conspiracy. Until now," Junseo said. "Your data from Kepler 442c proves the Deathworld classifications are fake. Combined with Mi-young's research, we can show the pattern exists across the entire galaxy. But proving the conspiracy existed was only the first step. They still needed to figure out who was behind it and how to stop them." "The hegemony species," Mi-young said when they asked about the conspiracy's leaders. "They call themselves the First Alliance, but everyone else calls them the hegemony. They've been the real power behind the Federation since it was created." She showed them pictures of the hegemony species. They looked different from each other, but all of them were tall, elegant beings who carried themselves like they owned everything they saw. "They control the Federation Council," Mi-young explained. "Every major decision has to be approved by them. They decide which species get to join the Federation, which worlds get settled, and which areas of space are off limits. And they've been using that power to steal the best worlds for themselves," Taeho said angrily. "For over 1,000 years, Junseo confirmed. "My research suggests this conspiracy started almost as soon as the Federation was formed." As they talked, alarms began blaring throughout Nexus Prime. Emergency lights flashed red and automated. Voices announced in multiple languages that Federation security forces were approaching the station. "They found us," Hana said, checking her portable scanner. 3 Federation ships and 2 I don't recognize." Mi-young moved quickly, gathering the most important documents from her research. "The unknown ships belong to the hegemony," she said. "If they're here personally, it means they're taking this threat very seriously." "We need to get back to our ship," Minho's voice crackled over their communication devices. "Now." But as they tried to leave Mi-young's shop, they found the corridors full of Federation security troops. The soldiers were stopping everyone, checking identification and searching for the crew of the New Soul. "This way," Mi-young said, leading them through a hidden passage behind a fake wall. "I know another route to the docking bays." As they crawled through maintenance tunnels and service corridors, Junseo explained what would happen next. "The hegemony will try to destroy all evidence and make us disappear," he said. "They've done it before to anyone who got too close to the truth." "But we're not alone anymore," So-min pointed out. "We have allies now." "A few allies against the most powerful conspiracy in galactic history," Taeho said. "The odds aren't great." "Humans are good with bad odds," Mi-young said, with what might have been a smile. "That's what I've heard anyway." They reached the docking bay just as Federation troops began searching the area. The New Soul waited for them with engines already warming up for immediate departure. As they ran toward their ship, Taeho realized their investigation had become something much more dangerous. They weren't just uncovering lies anymore. They were starting a revolution that would either free the galaxy or get them all killed. The truth was out there, hidden on hundreds of forbidden worlds, and somehow, a small group of humans and their new alien friends were going to have to expose it all before the hegemony silenced them forever. The New Soul barely escaped Nexus Prime as Federation ships opened fire on the station. From their observation deck, Taeho watched explosions bloom like deadly flowers where they had been standing just minutes before. "They're destroying the entire station," So-min said in horror. Captain Minho's voice came over the intercom, cold with anger. "Thousands of people lived on that station. The Federation just murdered them all to cover their secret." Yang Junseo and Kang Mi-young had made it aboard just in time, but they had lost everything. Mi-young's 20 years of research was gone, burned away in the Federation attack. "I'm sorry," Taeho said to her. "We brought this down on your home." Mi-young's yellow eyes were hard as stone. "No," she said. "The hegemony brought this down on my home. You just gave me a reason to fight back." For 2 weeks, they jumped from system to system, staying ahead of the Federation ships that hunted them. During that time, Junseo used his old contacts to spread word about their discoveries. The response was immediate and encouraging. "Species across the galaxy are checking the Deathworld classifications for themselves," he reported. The Koreani Union found 3 paradise worlds marked as deadly within their own territory. The Talani Republic discovered that half their restricted systems actually contained perfect farming worlds. But the hegemony's response was swift and brutal. News reports began appearing on Federation channels calling the humans dangerous terrorists who were spreading harmful misinformation about planetary classifications. "They're turning the galaxy against us," Hana said as she monitored the broadcasts. "They're saying we're trying to destabilize galactic peace." "Let them lie," So-min said. "The evidence speaks for itself." The evidence was spreading faster than the hegemony could stop it. Species who had been struggling on difficult worlds for generations were learning that better homes had been kept from them. Anger was building across the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler 283b, the native Barani people discovered that 3 lush agricultural worlds in their system had been classified as Deathworlds for 400 years. They immediately sent exploration ships to investigate. The hegemony's response was shocking in its brutality. Hegemony warships appeared in the Kepler 283 system and destroyed the Barani exploration fleet. Then they broadcast a message to the galaxy. "Any unauthorized approach to classified worlds will be met with immediate destruction." "They just declared war on anyone who questions them," Minho said grimly. But the hegemony had made a mistake. By attacking the Barani so openly, they had shown their true nature. The peaceful, wise leaders of the Federation were actually violent tyrants who would kill to protect their lies. More species began to rebel. The New Soul received messages from dozens of worlds offering help and shelter. Junseo established Contact with a growing network of rebels who called themselves the Truth Seekers. We're not alone anymore, he announced during a crew meeting. The Draxi Empire is providing ships and weapons. The Volani Collective is sharing intelligence about hegemony movements. Even some Federation species are secretly supporting us. The rebellion was growing, but so was the danger. Hegemony ships began appearing everywhere, hunting for the new soul and anyone connected to the truth about the Deathworlds. During a stop at a hidden rebel base on the asteroid colony Refuge Rock, they met Bei Dong-wook, a former Federation tactical officer who had joined the rebellion after learning the truth. The hegemony has been preparing for this day, Dong-wook warned them. They have weapons and ships that aren't in any Federation database. Ancient technology that's far more advanced than anything we've seen. How ancient? Taeho asked. That's the scary part, Dong-wook replied. I think they've been planning this conspiracy for thousands of years, maybe since before the Federation even existed. The rebels shared intelligence that painted a terrifying picture. The hegemony didn't just control the Federation. They had been shaping galactic civilization. For millennia, they decided which species were allowed to develop advanced technology, which ones were given access to good worlds, and which ones were kept weak and dependent. They've been playing a game with all of us, Somin realized. A game where they make the rules and we don't even know we're playing. The rebels' investigation had uncovered something else disturbing. Many species that had mysteriously disappeared from galactic history had actually been eliminated by the hegemony when they got too close to the truth. The Corvani had a thriving civilization until 300 years ago, explained Shin Yu-jin, a former Federation diplomat who had joined the rebels. Official records say they were wiped out by a plague, but hegemony shipping records show cargo vessels stripping their worlds clean just before the plague hit. They've been committing genocide, Hana said quietly, for centuries, and now they're planning to do it again, Dong-wook added. My sources inside the Federation military say the hegemony is mobilizing their ancient war fleets. They're not just going to silence us, they're going to eliminate every species that knows the truth. The rebels had to act fast. They had evidence of the conspiracy, but they needed to get it to every world in the galaxy before the hegemony could stop them. We need to reach the Federation's main communication hub, Yu-jin suggested. If we can broadcast from there, the signal will reach every inhabited system simultaneously. The hub is protected by the Federation's most powerful defenses, Dong-wook pointed out. It would be a suicide mission. Taeho looked around at the group of humans and aliens who had risked everything to expose the truth. They came from different worlds and different species, but they all shared the same dream. A galaxy where everyone had a fair chance at a good life. Maybe, he said. But humans are good at impossible missions. The final battle was coming. The rebels would either expose the hegemony's lies to the galaxy, or they would die trying. But they had learned something important about standing up to tyrants. Sometimes the most important victory isn't winning the fight, but making sure the truth survives to inspire others. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone tried to keep humans away from the truth. The Federation's main communication hub orbited the galaxy's core in a massive space station called Central Nexus. It was the most heavily defended location in known space, protected by energy shields that could stop entire fleets and weapons, that could destroy planets. But the rebels had learned something the hegemony had forgotten. Sometimes the best way to win an impossible fight is to change the rules of the game. We're not going to attack the station, Taeho explained to the assembled rebel fleet. We're going to sneak inside it. The plan was crazy enough that it might work. Oh Soo-jin, a young hacker from the Volani Collective, had discovered that Central Nexus recycled its waste through automated cargo ships that visited the station every day. The ships were too small to carry weapons, so they weren't heavily scanned. I can hide a small team inside one of the cargo ships, Soo-jin explained. But you'll only have 30 minutes inside the station before the ship has to leave. 30 minutes to broadcast the truth to the entire galaxy, So-min said. It's not much time. It's enough, Taeho replied. It has to be. While Taeho prepared for the infiltration mission, Somin worked with Nam Hoseok, leader of the Rebel Alliance, to coordinate simultaneous uprisings across the galaxy. If their broadcast succeeded, rebel cells on hundreds of worlds would reveal the truth about their local Deathworlds at the same time. The hegemony can silence one voice, Hoseok said, but they can't silence a galaxy. The plan required perfect timing. Sujin would smuggle Taeho and 2 other rebels inside Central Nexus. They would fight their way to the communication center and broadcast the evidence. Meanwhile, Somin would lead a diversionary attack with the rebel fleet, drawing attention away from the real mission. But as they prepared for the mission, scout ships brought terrible news. The hegemony had revealed their true power. Ancient warships, each one larger than a human city, were emerging from hidden bases throughout the galaxy. These weren't just military vessels. They were mobile weapons platforms, built with technology that made Federation ships look like toys. Where did they come from? Minho asked in amazement as they watched long-range sensor readings of the massive ships. They've been hiding in the Deathworld systems, Yujin realized, using the forbidden classifications to conceal their secret military bases. The hegemony warships began moving toward inhabited systems, delivering ultimatums to every world in the galaxy. Surrender the human terrorists and forget what you have learned or face complete destruction. Several worlds tried to comply, but it was too late. The evidence had spread too far and too many people knew the truth. The galaxy was choosing sides, and most of them were choosing to fight. It's now or never, Taeho said as he climbed into the cramped cargo container that would smuggle him to Central Nexus. The infiltration went perfectly until it didn't. Taeho and his team reached the communication center without being detected, but when Sujin tried to access the broadcast systems, alarms began screaming throughout the station. "They know we're here," she said, working frantically at the control console. Hegemony security forces were closing in fast. Taeho could hear their heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors as they surrounded the communication center. "How much longer?" he asked. 2 more minutes, Sujin replied, sweat beading on her furry forehead. "We don't have 2 minutes," said Bae Dong-wook, who was watching the security feeds. That's when Somin's voice crackled over their communication devices. "All ships attack now. Give them something else to worry about." The rebel fleet dropped out of hyperspace and began firing on Central Nexus. The station's massive shields flared to life, but the attack served its purpose. The hegemony forces had to deal with the external threat. "Got it," Sujin announced, broadcasting now to every inhabited system in the galaxy. Across the galaxy, on millions of worlds and space stations, screens lit up with the evidence the rebels had gathered. Images of paradise worlds marked as Deathworlds. Internal hegemony messages discussing the conspiracy. Historical records showing how they had eliminated species who got too close to the truth. But the most powerful part of the broadcast wasn't the evidence. It was Somin's message to the galaxy. "We are humans from the world called Earth," her voice said, as her image appeared on screens everywhere. "We were told that dangerous worlds called Deathworlds were forbidden to protect us, but the truth is that these worlds were hidden to rob us. All of us." She showed images from Kepler 442c, beautiful and green and perfect for life. "This is what they don't want you to see," she continued. "Paradise worlds that could be home to billions of people. Worlds where your children could grow up under clean skies and breathe fresh air. Worlds that have been stolen from you by those who claim to lead you." The response was immediate and overwhelming. On world after world, people demanded to know why perfect planets had been hidden from them. The careful order the hegemony had maintained for 1,000 years began to crumble in a matter of hours. But the hegemony had one final, desperate plan. If they couldn't keep their secret, they would destroy the evidence. Ancient ships began moving toward the hidden worlds, carrying weapons designed to sterilize entire planets. "They're going to destroy the Deathworlds," Dong-wook reported grimly. "All of them. If they can't keep them secret, they'll make sure no one can have them." This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. As hegemony ships moved to destroy hundreds of paradise worlds, the rebels had to choose: save themselves or save the worlds. Taeho didn't hesitate. "All rebel ships, protect the Deathworlds." Don't let them destroy what they stole. The final battle was fought not in space but in the hearts and minds of billions of beings across the galaxy. As news of the hegemony's planet-killing mission spread, even Federation forces began to refuse orders. Who could support leaders who would rather destroy paradise than share it? One by one, the hegemony's ancient ships were overwhelmed by fleets of rebels, defectors, and ordinary citizens who had decided they'd had enough of being lied to. When the fighting ended, Tai-Ho and So-Min stood once again on the surface of Kepler 442c. But this time, they weren't alone. Ships from dozens of species filled the sky as beings from across the galaxy came to see the truth for themselves. "We did it," So-Min said quietly, watching as the first permanent settlements began to take shape in the valley below. "No," Tai-Ho corrected her. "We started it. The real work begins now." The galaxy would never be the same. The Federation had collapsed, the hegemony had retreated to their fortress worlds, and hundreds of species were learning to live as equals, instead of servants. And on a beautiful world that had once been forbidden, humans and aliens worked together to build something new, a galactic community based on truth instead of lies, where the best worlds belonged to everyone who needed them. The age of secrets was over. The age of truth had begun.